Hey, everybody. We are so happy to see you. We're already getting comments in the chat. We appreciate you so much. It is Wednesday night, and we are live on the Recayard Women's Prison Podcast. I'm Marci Marie.
I'm Toonche.
We're so glad to have you, and we're super excited because we have a very special guest tonight. Toonche, tell them who's going to be on.
We do. We have Angel Carroll, who is a friend, a fellow advocate, and she is running for House District 52, which includes Williamson County in Texas. So we're super excited to talk to her tonight.
I'm really excited because she's going to talk about her campaign priorities and her experience with the juvenile justice system here in our state in Texas, and she's going to let us know what regarding her campaign, what kind of changes she would like to see in that system and what kind of changes she would like to see in our state. So it's going to be a good one.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've been looking forward to it all day.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and Angel's just a super great lady outside of all of that incredibleness. So I'm really excited. And they are coming for you already in the comments too.
Man,
You nailed it.
we both did. It was spot on this time, Marci, and maybe because we are so focused.
Maybe so. It's because we're inspired by our special guest, and BF Diane is in the house. Hi,
Can't believe
Diane.
it. She's completely in another time zone, halfway across the world. So, so wonderful to have BF Diane here tonight.
Yeah, we're happy for everybody that's joining us. You guys that are watching us live, we would really appreciate for you guys to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. Get busy in the chat, ask questions, talk to us in the chat, all of the things that brings engagement. When the live is over, we would really appreciate if you shared it, because by sharing the live, it just helps our podcast reach an even broader audience. If you're listening to this episode, wherever you hear your favorite podcasts, we would really appreciate for you to leave a review.
Right. Y'all leave a review. And when you leave it at Spotify for podcasters, it allow you to leave a voice memo, and we'll figure it out. It may take us a moment, right? But we'll play it and we'll answer your voice memo live on the air. So please send us some stuff.
Yes, please do. Shout out to Baby Boy Productions, who are working on jazzing up our show. So you guys can look forward to seeing that soon. A much more professional intro and graphics. And what we have was just what we knew how to do. And so I'm super excited to see how that goes. Also, shout out to my TikTok family because they're watching live with us as well. I have my little phone set up here, just aimed at the computer, and I love you all. Thanks so much for joining me and supporting my platform over there.
Yeah.
Hey, Toonche, let's do a weekly recap. I cut you off, girl. I cut you off.
And we got too cocky. We got cocky saying we had this down, everything was smooth and professional for Angel to be impressed with us, and we
fouled it up.
We did immediately.
Yes, it didn't take long to show how we really operate around here. Benika's in the house, Laurie's in the house, Audra Lee, Shelly. We're so happy to have everybody. I want to, we're doing the weekly recap, and you guys that were with us last week, thank you so much for your support. I have gotten dozens of private messages asking about my health and telling me to get better because, guys, I got sick on the show, and I had to leave you guys, and I apologize for leaving you with Toonche just kind of rambling on. And I want to tell you something else. I'm recording in my mobile studio. You all know that I record often in my daughter's apartment, and Brittany, my girlfriend, is just sitting over here on the couch quietly working on her laptop, and she was doing the same thing last week. Guys, I got up and ran to the bathroom,
Oh,
and Brittany didn't even know I was gone. She was just listening to Toonche ramble on, and she's so used to Toonche rambling like that.
it's true.
It didn't even occur to her that I was gone. I see John Romano's in the house. Carrie, our girl Carrie that we met in Galveston at the board meetings here. Jennifer, Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. How was your week, Toonche?
Oh man, gosh. Well, you tell us how you recovered, and because my week will lead into our guest. Hopefully, she's in the waiting room.
She is in the waiting room and
Yes.
she looks
Okay.
fabulous. I'm so
Okay.
excited. So yeah, my week was uneventful because I really tried to let my body rest. Um, and with that, also take care of all of the last minute wedding details because
Oh,
it's coming up, guys. Brittany and I are getting married in less than 2 weeks, and my chest filled with anxiety just saying that. So I think we maybe hit the last detail. I still needed shoes for my wedding dress, and we
what
found
shoes are
them.
you wearing?
I'm I'm wearing some little gold sling back little heels. Why? What did you think I was
Brittany's
gonna say,
wearing
shower
tennis shoes,
shoes?
isn't
Brittany has not found her shoes. She's looking at
she?
either Timberlands or Nikes, and
Uh-huh.
she can wear whatever she wants. That girl could come to the walk down the aisle in a Nike t-shirt and basketball shorts, and I will marry her proudly. But she cleans up pretty nice, y'all. So I think you're going to be, I think you're going to be impressed for sure. Yeah. So that's coming up, and that's what I've been doing.
Well, I'm real excited because I'll be taking my wife to your wedding. We all know that that's a running joke here that Lori is not my actual wife. She's straight. But it's in my mind, in my head, and it will feel like a real because we're getting a room. I forgot to tell you earlier, we've got our room booked. We're ready. We're excited. And I will dress nice. I'm going to wear my cowboy boots. So I'm excited.
Fancy coming in hot with the East Texas cowboy
That's
boots.
right. Me and my wife are originally from East Texas, so we're gonna come in. We're gonna come in hot with that vibe. The good ways that East Texas vibes. There's so few good vibes from East Texas, but anyway. So my week, you guys, you remember last week. I was in Galveston. I was at the Judicial Commission on Mental Health. It is a huge collaboration between judges and lawyers and community members, really tackling mental health in Texas in our criminal legal system. I was there most of the time with Angel. So I got to spend a couple of days with Angel in Galveston. We were able to watch some of the presentations together, and we had our thoughts and opinions on each one. And it was really, I don't get to see her often in a personal capacity because we're all so busy. And it was a real pleasure to be able to bond with a good friend that I don't see often over really impactful, important issues, right? And I can't wait for her to talk about the incredible, and I don't use this lightly, y'all know I'm so suspicious of anything to do that's good in the criminal justice system, but Williamson County is doing phenomenal work with youth justice, and that's the district she's in. So I can't wait for us to talk to her.
Okay, well, with that, I think that we should bring Angel right on to the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome, Angel Carroll, candidate for House Representative, District 52. We're so
Yeah.
happy to see you, and we are encouraging everybody in your district to vote blue. We're so excited for this opportunity for you and so excited to hear about everything.
Thank you. I love hanging out with you guys. This is
All right. Well, I've been looking forward to this all day, Angel.
I love it. We've been texting all day, so really, it's a joy.
Well, Angel, tell everybody, I've talked you up a little bit before you popped on, but tell people who you are and what you're running for.
Yeah, so again, my name is Angel Carroll, Carroll, double L. That's very important. And I'm running for state representative in District 52. So District 52 is in Williamson County. So if you know where Austin is, we're just north of that. It is an incredibly large and diverse district. It was actually gerrymandered, but it includes Round Rock, Hutto, Taylor, Thrall, Copeland, Granger, Gerald, little bits of Georgetown, Cedar Park, Leander, Liberty Hill. It's crazy. It's a huge district, but I love this district. And I love this district like many of its residents, particularly for me, is because I grew up here. It's a district, my family was born in Austin and we were priced out like many folks out of Austin. And, I've walked my life, my adolescence, and returned to this community after graduating college. And I think it's time that it's represented by someone that loves it deeply and is going to fight for it like I will.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us then, kind of leading into the question of what inspired you to run and how did you decide to get into politics?
Yeah. So one thing, I would like to consider myself an advocate who is entering into the political space, right? Like many folks, I hate politics because at the end of the day, we have people in power who are making decisions on the lives of individuals who, quite frankly, I don't think they care about. So I don't consider myself a politician. I think the moment that I call myself a politician, I want y'all to hold me accountable, and that's the day I get out of this, right? Like I am an advocate in the political space. What made me decide to run ultimately, right? I think it's a story, 29 years in the making, literally, and how I entered into this space. So I have been an advocate since I was a teenager. It looked a little different. I was a very hard-headed and outspoken adolescent, but like many folks, I dealt with a lot of trauma in different forms of abuses in my childhood, and that showed up differently in the school system. And so a lot of people don't realize in the state of Texas, you can go be certified as an adult as early as age 10. And that's where we see the beginning of the school to prison pipeline. So quite literally being detained in juvenile detention at 11 years old. And I kept and continue to speak out on different issues. And unfortunately, a lot of my complaints and observations landed on deaf ears and ultimately ended up in the foster care system. And that was an experience in itself. And that was when Texas Youth Commission was very much active and the state had nowhere to put me. And so I was put in what doubled as a youth prison and quite literally had to fight and advocate for myself to get out of that facility. Had to advocate to stay somewhere long enough to get my high school diploma. And when I defied all odds and ended up studying social work at Texas Tech, I started digging into the data of outcomes of formerly incarcerated youth, foster care youth, and I got really angry, right? These systems are designed to help us, to protect our children, to provide families the resources that they need so they get the mental health services that they need. And I felt like my peers and myself, we were failed. So I started going to the state capitol and demanded that not just my story, but the stories of youth around me were heard. And I had this incredibly huge opportunity to stand before the two highest courts in the state of Texas. So the Texas Supreme Court and the Criminal Court of Appeals about my experience, particularly in this placement that doubled as a youth prison and how I was misdiagnosed and I was overly medicated and told if you don't take these medications, you cannot call your family. You cannot call your social worker. You cannot call your attorney ad litem. And like many incarcerated folks and people that are being gaslit, right, in these systems, I took the medications and ended up developing a vocal tic, which I still have to this day, and talking about how it's important that we not only place this harm on our youth, but we listen to individuals who are experiencing mental health, right?
Right.
Getting them, their family, the resources, and what does it look like to educate the courts on what that looks like in different communities, particularly and specifically communities of color. And from there, that's really what skyrocketed this path that I've been on. I went on to design alternative to incarceration programs that are award-winning in Williamson County. Of all things, Governor Abbott heard about my work and appointed me to the Juvenile Justice Advisory Board at age 23. So I was one of the youngest appointees at that time. And then, as I say, then I graduated college. So did a lot. And after graduating from Texas Tech, and I might add, I returned back to Williamson County and started working for that program that I helped design and continued to show up to the state capitol because, as you all know, there aren't a lot of people with our backgrounds at the Capitol doing the work. And we need to be there again because we have people that are making these decisions and don't understand not just the cause of why people are committing these crimes, but what things could have been done to prevent it.
Right.
Literally starting at the grassroots on the ground level. And then COVID happened. And a lot of people lost their jobs. And a lot of people went through depression. I went through depression. I just graduated and was told that, if I went to college and did all these great things, I would have all these beautiful outcomes. And that wasn't the case. And had this beautiful opportunity to take on 2 jobs. I joined an organization called Measure. It's an Austin-based research organization. Turning research into policy was my specific role. And then I had this amazing opportunity to tap into the work that I had done on the legislative level to get Texas to start resentencing juvenile lifers, to stop putting kids in prison, to give people the resources that they truly needed while incarcerated and coming out, and became a teacher in the DC jail. And that was an experience that I will keep with me forever. I loved my guys. And, the travel back and forth became a lot, and it became increasingly clear that my heart really was here in Texas. And so I decided to come back full time and continue the work. And I've been doing it since. And after this last legislative session, it was my 5th as an advocate. Like many, I know y'all were frustrated. I was very frustrated. And, we were knocking on doors, but as I say, we were knocking down doors as well. But to have to sit in committee hearings and watch my community members pour their heart outs to, these folks that are elected to represent them, and for them to say, I understand you, and to vote the other way because, they have a donor that's told them to do this or whatever reason they give, right? We need someone who's going to put people over politics. And I'm tired of begging politicians to listen to their constituents. I'm tired of it. And I truly believe if you can't beat them, you should join them.
Right.
And so that's why I'm running. I think, this district, again, that I love, it needs to be represented by someone who is from here, that's for the district and committed to ensuring that the district thrives as it continues to grow.
What an incredible story. What an incredible journey. And as a young woman, like to have had so many experiences and be at this place in your life it's truly a testament to your fortitude and just your heart. So I thank you. When you told me you were running, I was like, my God, it's like we've got a Trojan horse. Like we've got one of us in the building, because like you said, it is incredibly frustrating to watch power plays and money over people when decisions are made. Marci, do you want to ask the next question?
Wow, thanks for asking me, Toonche. I wasn't sure if you were going to let me or not today.
I get real excited, and I've got Angel here, and we're talking politics. And
yes,
so
I was giving you grace, girl, because I know how excited you are to have Angel on the show. I want to thank the folks that are liking the live and helping to share the message. I also want to let you ladies know that the TikTok family is showing mega support support for Angel. And I'm just so happy for that and so proud of that. We're getting comments like more justice impacted people are needed in office, and just lots of love they're giving you over there on that app. And the folks over there come and go. So I'm going to say it several times throughout the show. We're talking about running for House Representative District 52. We have our candidate right here, Angel Carroll. And so District 52, get to voting. Carroll, double R, double L's, right?
Yes. And even if you can't vote for me, like my profiles on social media, I really want to engage with you all, because I am running to represent District 52, but at the end of the day, I'm running to represent Texas at the state legislature and making sure that your voice is heard.
Yes, thank you for that. And I want to make sure that I'm going to be adding that the next time Toonche gets to talking. I'll add that. I'll add Angel's social medias to the chat so you guys can make sure and follow her on those. I wanted to say that while you were talking about your time in the juvenile justice system as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, I was watching Toonche's face. And she has experienced some of those same things. And I know that we don't have to get into any details there. But what I'm wondering is, what did you think your future was going to be like as not only a child caught up in the system, but a person of color, a child of color caught up in the system? What did you think your future would be?
Yeah, I don't know that I ever thought about my future, to be completely honest. Of course, you have your thoughts as a kid. When I grow up, I want to be an actress, and these, great big dreams, right? But when I entered into this system, I wanted to survive it.
Yeah.
I wanted to survive it, and then I wanted to prove people wrong. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know how I would do that. And so it was this constant battle between my reality and then what I wanted. And yeah.
God, Angel, even when Marci asked it, and I think she probably would have answered it the same way from being in the adult system. But certainly as kids, like in my mind, it was like survival. Like you can't think of, what is my future? Are those cool dreams that most kids have of basketball, or I'm going to be an actress or an astronaut or stuff. When you enter that system, it is just survival. That's it. That's all you can think is, how am I going to get through this and survive this? And I think you do build this very deep resilience and kind of maybe this fortifying and this kind of rebellion of, you will not break me. Right? Like, I don't know how I'm going to rise above this, but I'm going to survive, and I'm going to show you that I'm not the things that you believe I am, or even behaviors that I've had. I'm going to prove you differently. I just may not know how right now. So
yeah,
thank you for sharing that. It's interesting. So you've been through so much, especially as a kid. Tell me why, and then also explain how hard it can be to represent the very area that this stuff happened, because you were incarcerated and, went through the system in Williamson County. So how does that feel now, kind of returning? I don't know. For me, sometimes I struggle with, I don't trust you. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if I'm seeing really good positive change, like we saw at the summit, although there were some things that were problematic, how do you balance that for yourself? Like, I think you and I have talked about this privately before. Like, how do I continue to fight for youth justice, but also embrace the people in the system that are doing great work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting. My experience specifically, I think, has been flipped in a way, and I'll share why. So while I was at Texas Tech, during my breaks, I would come back to Williamson County during the summers and mentor girls within the juvenile detention facility, do trainings with the system as a whole. And so I had a lot of support from Scott Matthews and Matt Smith, right, who are leading these programs. And so that was really great. the interesting piece, right, is typically, at least in my head, right, I would feel as though maybe you get more support from the people on the ground level, and then you have that barrier of trust and support at the higher end of things. So that was really flipped. I had a lot of support from the decision makers, whereas working with JPOs, and I'm not all social workers, but some mental health providers, there was an interesting barrier there, right? And for a while, I struggled with it. I had imposter syndrome, right? When you quite literally defeat the odds in the statistics, right? Thinking about my involvement in not just the foster care system, but the juvenile justice system, statistically, I should be dead or in prison. I should not be here right now. So to be in spaces and giving my expertise and insight, right? I had imposter syndrome. Once I got over that and was more comfortable within my role and that I deserved to be at that table, I think things got a little easier for me, and I was able to push back on those systems and those individuals who at times maybe not intentionally made me feel as though I didn't deserve to be in that space. But I think it's just continuing to push forward onward through the fog. You've been, we've all been through worse.
Right.
And I think those are the things that I guess I'm grateful for, the trauma and being able to realize, right? Water off a duck's back. I've been through worse. I have to keep pushing forward. And what I continue to think at the forefront of my mind throughout this process, through my worst days on the campaign trail, it's bigger than me, and it's life and death.
Yeah. Marci, I'm letting you have turns here, and it's real hard because you know how I'll talk over you sometimes.
I know, but I know how to butt in there. My heart feels so warm with this conversation, and I want to make sure that everybody can find Angel on all the social media platforms at Angel for Texas, and you can also hit her website up. My girlfriend Brittany whispered in my ear during the show, "Hey, she's got a website," and so this is the website, www.angelfortexas.com. So I want to make sure, and you're just getting lots of love over here. They're pinning videos. They're pinning comments, reminding people of the district you're in, and just lots of love. They can't wait to spread the word that you're running. This is inspiring hope. And with that comment about you inspiring hope, I wonder if you have thought about how much you actually are giving hope to those girls that are currently in the juvenile justice system in a place where they are in survival mode, where they can't see past. And it's making me tear up because that's how I felt even as an adult. So I can't imagine being 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, dealing with those emotions. But those young girls, what do you have to tell them? What do you have to say to those girls in that situation currently?
That you are worthy, you are loved. You may not see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's there. And you are so much more than the worst thing that you've ever done.
Well, God, Angel, we're not all going to start. Right? Especially as a kid, right? And I've struggled with that recently too, as those things are touched in me, is am I really what they said I was? Can I ever overcome that even after all of this? And the answer is yes. And it's hard, right? Those voices that were from childhood, whether it's toxic families or the state, we are more than our worst mistake. We are more than our screw ups day to day. At our core, there is something redeemable and beautiful and amazing. And I think, to know that somebody that has been through all this is being courageous to run for office, because it can be vicious, right? I can only imagine. I see stuff, the way people react in negative ways on social media. I can't even imagine how nasty that can get as, campaigns happen for political office. So that takes a lot of courage. So thank you. And thank you for like, you're just such a bright spot to everybody that has a really difficult history. And to see you have courage and be where you are, it's just thank you. Right.
Thank you. And I think it's a trick too, right? I think I learned this at, I don't say a very young age, but during my adolescence, and, you know, the power of therapy is just reframing your thoughts. And, you know, every time someone told me I couldn't do something, remember I talked about earlier, I wanted to prove people wrong. But where do you take that anger and frustration into something good? But then once you turn something good with it, what do you do? No one talks about what do you do, right? That healing process. And I had a meet and greet a couple months ago, and, you know, we talked about public education and teachers. And, you know, we know the power of education and the power that teachers have to lift up students, but also what about those teachers that bring us down? And so I talked about when I graduated college, one of the things that had pushed me, because I was at college for 6 years, I enjoyed Texas Tech thoroughly. And I had this teacher, and my 6th grade avid teacher at Tippett Middle School in Georgetown. She told me, Angel, you're never going to amount to anything. You're going to be pregnant by 16. You're not going to go to college. I mean, she like listed this out in 6th grade because I had outbursts, right? She didn't know what was going on at home, but that's what she decided to tell me in 6th grade. And I found out where she was teaching in the Dallas area and wrote this very respectful letter thanking her. And that, you know, I had channeled that anger and frustration and, quite frankly, that hate in her heart to push me to graduate college, but also that I was letting it go and saying I've made it this far. And my hope is thinking back to, you know, young girls that are in the justice system, adults, right, as we've moved into this new phase of our life, channel that into something good and then heal from it. And then move on to the next phase of your life. And
you reminded me of a story that I interviewed a gentleman, and his name is slipping me. I don't remember which interview it was, but he said that when he was in middle school, he was in school detention, and he was in this room, and the teacher drew a schoolhouse, and then they drew a building and wrote Huntsville over the building, which for those of us in Texas know that Huntsville holds the majority, or a big complex of prisons, especially men's prisons. And the teacher drew a sidewalk and told that young man, this is where you're headed from here. And he said that stuck with him, and he remembered sitting in his prison cell because it came to fruition, the words that were spoken over that gentleman. And he remembered thinking about that picture and how that impacted him. And it's just, you're so right. Words matter, and what we tell people completely matters. And furthermore, what we tell ourselves. And I think that's, you know, the three of us kind of used some of that negative feedback as motivation, kind of like I told you. And I still think that about some of the people that have negatively tried to impact my life. I'm like, hey, look at me now, you know, but not everybody has capacity for that.
Not everyone has capacity. And then you have to think of, you know, when I worked in the prison, we used something called PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Supports, and thinking about, we all love to be told that we're doing a good job, right? What would it look like if we use positive reinforcement in our schools, in our juvenile justice system? And, you know, when there's a negative behavior that a child or an adult, as we used it with adults who were incarcerated, when there's a behavior that's negative, right? We teach them, right? This is what should be done. And then that consequence, is it appropriate, right? I think back to when I was a kid, right? Hitting me, I could take a weapon and be just fine. But taking away something tangible, that's how you teach those behaviors. And that's just one, positive and just one tool that can be used. But, just really thinking through how we teach positive behaviors that are trauma informed and appropriate. And, those tools alone are things that I'm seeing, being implemented in Williamson County and similar programs across the state, which I really think we need to champion and highlight and promote.
Yeah, I mean, again, like people are going to think that I'm from Williamson County, right? Because I'm like, the work that county has done and invested in for years, right? Because they got it right. Culture change, it takes time and it takes investment, it takes money, it takes prevention, it takes pouring into those things that we know work, which are trauma informed care, positive reinforcement. And I'm thinking about when I was at the Judicial Commission on Mental Health, and I would love for people to know your connection to that. It's huge, gigantic summit. It was so many people. There must have been hundreds of people there, and listening to one of the judges talk about how she treats the kids in her courtroom, and to her it sounded just fine, right? The way she gave them. And I remember looking at you, and I was like, I almost can't sit here, right? Because the tone, it was from a place of punishment. It was from a place of shame, and she couldn't hear it, right? Because she thinks she's doing this kid a favor. And I believe one of the things that was said was, you're going to get told the girl, you're going to get your GED, or I've got a jail cell with your name on it. And I was like, oh my God, I've been transported back 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. And when you hear the judges and the DAs and the juvenile probation folks in Williamson County, you do not hear that, right? You feel loved, embraced as a human being. It is just phenomenal, the work that y'all are doing in Williamson County. So first, please tell us your connection to the Judicial Commission on Mental Health. It's a huge one. And then if you could kind of talk a little bit maybe more about your priorities for your campaign, which I know revolve around kids.
Okay, while you're gathering your thoughts, I want to remind everybody that Angel Carroll is a candidate for District 52 for House Representative. You can follow her on the social media pages, all of the social media pages at Angel for Texas, and go to her website, guys, www.angelfortexas.com.
Thank you.
So I think I was 2021 again at Texas Tech. I'm, getting connected with these different groups at the legislature. I got an email and said, hey, would you mind sharing your experience with the Texas Supreme Court? This is kind of what we want to do. We've been talking to you about this for a while. And I said, sure, I'll show up. I'm going to be completely honest with you all. If I knew that truly the extent of going before the two highest courts in the state of Texas, I don't know that I would have agreed to. What I did know at the time, however, is that there are not people like us who get an opportunity to be at the table, and I knew I had to be there. And so I ended up becoming and being one of the top testifiers with lived experience, just sharing our experience and really demanding that there is a system where judges, attorneys, stakeholders, mental health authorities, rural and urban, right, can information share. That's simple. And also make recommendations to the legislature. And that commission ended up being founded and established as the Judicial Commission on Mental Health. And so I've served on their collaborative council and their dual status council for the last 5 years. And it's been an immense honor to show up year after year and to provide that insight, which, is needed. And from there, as I mentioned, working with this program in Williamson County, it quite literally took 17 to 24-year-olds who were charged with felonies, right? So it was a pre-trial program. If they completed this program within 18 months, it was like nothing ever happened. Because what we know is the brain is not fully developed till 25.
Mm-hmm.
You ask a teenager why you did something and they say, I don't know. As frustrating as it is, it's because they literally do not know.
Right.
Now, that does not mean that, you know, we should not be disciplining, right? There can't be consequences, but we have to think about where the brain is at and that there is room for growth and for lessons to be taught. And so this program gave them what they needed: access to mental health services, job placement. What resources do you need? What drug treatment do you need? And then also realizing, right, if you have an addiction and you're on a pre-trial program, pre-trial diversion program, typically the moment you test positive, you're out, you're back in jail.
Right.
But you're dealing with someone with addiction.
Right.
And so it was really great to see buy-in from the DA and the prosecutors and the judges and the probation officer and social workers to say, man, you know what? This client, yes, they tested positive. We understand where they're at. Are the levels going down? Oh, they are going down. That means that their usage is decreasing.
Mm-hmm.
That means that the services that we're providing, they're working. And we also provided these services to their family.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm really proud of their community service, as I call it, community engagement program that I really reshaped and rethinking. How do we do community service? Road to Bridge doesn't help. You know, going to do pick up trash at the side of the road or going to Goodwill, that does nothing, right? What does it look like to give back to the community that you've harmed? So that means reading books and giving book reports, quite literally, like you would do in school, right? And then at the end, I would have these our kids, because that's what they were, kids, do a project, a capstone project. And so to see these vibrant young adults say, you know, I've been a hungry college student, I'm going to do a food drive. To see a young man who worked at Papa John's get his company to donate 50 pizzas and to stand outside and give it to people walking around who were homeless. You know, getting them re-engaged. That's what giving back to the community that you've harmed looks like. And it was, again, it was just an experience that I will keep with me for the rest of my life. And thinking about that, and forgive me, my head is, the next question is my priority.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, my priorities. So, you know, I'm talking a lot about lived experience and listening to those that are system impacted. And so when I'm thinking about my priorities, it starts with a community. What does the community need? The community, they are the experts. As I've talked to members of my immediate community, and when I say that, District 52, and also experts and local officials, our public schools are under attack. We have to fund our public schools. That means we have to pay teachers, help our retired teachers, provide support to our current students who are struggling. Our kids are struggling.
Yeah.
Right? We have to fund our public schools. Criminal justice is huge, right? People commit crimes primarily out of survival. What does it look like to give people the support that they need? And invest in our systems, right? And it doesn't mean creating new systems and reinventing the wheel. Leaning on organizations that are already doing the work, supporting local control. Again, our community are experts. Local government should be able to rule themselves.
Right.
You know, when we think about infrastructure and quality of life, I'm 28 years old. I've done a lot. I'm 28 and I've given up the idea of owning a home. That's just kind of where we're at. Right? Health insurance is expensive. We got to pay taxes to fund our school and our roads. And I want to work on the state level to ensure that communities and individuals have the resources that they need to survive. And, I think it's easy to silo these different issues into different, camps, but they all run together.
Right.
If we fund our public education system, that means that result will mean that we have individuals who graduate high school who can become willful and active participants in our economic system, right? Whether if they decide to go to a four-year university or they decide to take a trade route, wherever they decide to go, now they're active community members. What we know is that individuals who receive their high school diploma, they end up making better health decisions, right? That's huge. They go to becoming tax-paying citizens. It's all intertwined. And I think we have to start looking at it that way and stop putting these different issues in different boxes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and this is what I think, especially what our message at Lioness has been in terms of, we hope to see a future one day where we don't rely on carceral settings. But in order for that to happen, you can't heal the criminal justice system without healing the health system and the public school system and the faith community. Like, it all has to heal at the same time, and all those systems, because they're so intricately connected.
They are. And and specifically when it comes to criminal justice, I can give you a few things that I really want to continue to fight for, right? We certify kids as adults at age 10 in the state of Texas. For those of you that don't know, that certification means that at age 10, you commit a crime. The state of Texas can decide that, no, you committed this crime and I think you're an adult and I'm going to certify you. And then when you get convicted, we're going to put you in an adult prison. At age 10, in the state of Texas, again, you can be sent to prison as an adult. And what we know, I think it's 85% of those kids end up getting assaulted in prison.
Right.
And quite frankly, I don't even know that we need to be I'm not going to go on a tangent. We need to stop putting youth in prison.
Yeah.
So first, a bill that I've been advocating for and supporting for the last couple legislative sessions is raising the minimum age from 10 to 13. Now, hear me out. I still think 13 is wrong. But we've got to, with the system that we have, thinking about mitigating harm, 10 to 13. I also think raising the age from 17 to 18, right? What does raise the age mean? Raise the age, and I know there's a lot of different variations, especially out of this last legislative session, but when I say raise the age, I'm thinking back to my 2017 legislative session brain, and raising the age from criminal jurisdiction from 17 to 18. Because what we're seeing right now is that 17-year-olds are getting arrested, they're being charged as an adult, but they don't have the same rights as adults because they're 17.
Right.
Meaning that they can't get and check themselves into drug treatment programs. Well, if your parents are kicked you out, you're an adult, but legal standards, you can't sign anything. All right. Think of that about our homeless youth or foster care youth. Now, again, with the same caveat as before, I personally believe it should be 25 because the brain is not fully developed. But from thinking fiscally, right, our systems at this point, there is a huge debate on can our systems even, do they have the capacity to hold 17-year-olds? What I know for a fact is they don't have the capacity to hold up to 25. But I do wholeheartedly support raising the age from 17 to 18. Also, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that states need to start resentencing what we call juvenile lifers.
Yep.
They're individuals who were given life sentences as juveniles in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s, right? With the new brain science saying the brain isn't fully developed till 25, they said you have to start resentencing them. There's room for rehabilitation. This is why during the off session between the 87th and 88th legislative session, why I went to DC for a very short time, because I was really curious about when Texas decides to stop putting kids in prison and we start the resentencing process. What do these individuals need as they reintegrate back into society? But as Texas currently stands, they refuse to resentence these individuals, which I'm not going to bang my head on my wall right now, but it's ludicrous. And there is room for rehabilitation. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
I've seen it. With the addition of going back to, we are all so much more than the worst thing we have ever done. And I used to have to tell my guys this all the time. For a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them, the biggest difference between them and even some of the individuals that worked in that facility was that they got caught.
Right.
Right? To work with guys who are in their 50s and 60s and they were the dope boy back in the day. Nonviolent crime. And have been incarcerated since they were 16. Just think about that. And I see someone in the chat, Steven said there is room for rehabilitation. I don't know that the prisons should offer it. They should. I mean, at this point, like, it's unfortunately that we're expecting them to, but as someone that's worked in these facilities, they're not.
Angel, I lost track of the chat because I was so enthralled with what you were saying. And that never happens when Toonche is talking. This is the first. I just, you have said so much in such a short amount of time, so much just very impactful. And you said your advocacy all started when somebody asked you to tell your story at the Supreme Court level, and you said the words, I showed up. I showed up, as simple as that. And this is my enter plug here for Lioness Justice Impacted Women's Alliance, because in addition to being candidate for District 52 House Representative, Angel Carroll is also serving as a volunteer steering committee member for Lioness, and that's the organization that Toonche and I are both a part of. And Lioness Justice Impacted Women's Alliance we're an organization full of women who just show up, whether we know what we're doing when it's time to come down to it. Whether, hey, we need this, I'm here. Teach me. And we're looking for more justice impacted women who are just willing to say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it, but I want to see change. And I'm just going to show up. So you can hit us up on our Facebook group, Lioness Justice Impacted Women's Alliance, or our website, and our website, www.lionessjiwa.org.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you nailed it, right? Like when you said, someone asked me to share my lived experience. And so I showed up. Right. And I remember in a training recently, someone said, well, I'm trying to build my confidence. And the Doug, Doug, he was like, confidence ain't got nothing to do with it. Right. Like you build that as you go, and it's just showing up and showing up. And if you hadn't have showed up that day, Angel, we wouldn't have all the incredible, impactful programming, discussions, movement. We may not have the Judicial Commission on Mental Health, quite frankly, right? Like, because that really came from those conversations and you continuing to show up. So, I just want people to really hear that when you think that what you're doing is just a small thing, it has incredible impact, and it has incredible ripples and waves, actually, not even just ripples, but waves. So again, I'm super proud of you. I am proud to call you a friend and a fellow advocate. I came to tour the place that you were at in DC, and that was really cool to see you interacting with the guys there. And you remember I got anxiety. We had to leave. But, so I'm just really proud of your courage through all of this.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's a process, and I think it's a process for all of us, right? There are bad days. There are days where, quite frankly, I'm angry, right? That I am this voice. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if any of us could choose not to be advocates on this issue based off of our lived experience, you best believe, right? I didn't choose this life. It chose me. And I'm doing the best that I can with it. And it upsets me that I'm an outlier, right? It upsets me that all of us have defied these statistics, because these statistics should not be, but they are. And so I have to keep showing up, because there are little girls, there are young women, there are women my age and older who are coming behind us. And it's so important for them to see that they can do it. And you don't have to have any fancy degrees, any fancy, there's no guidebook on how to be an advocate. Now, someone may try and sell you it. It's all hard. It really is. And, I'm incredibly just honored to even hold space with you all, because y'all are a force to be reckoned with as well. Y'all truly are.
Thank you.
My TikTok family's in the comments, and they're giving you like major campaign support. And Tammy E says a slogan suggestion would be "An angel shows up. Vote her in for change."
Oh, I love
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I will say, I was, you during this process, you make cold calls to folks, and I gave someone my website, and they were like, "Oh, that sounds really good." When you hear things, when you say things often, you don't really, anyway. And they're like, "Angel for Texas. Texas could use an angel." I'm like, so, yes, I am going to write that down. And when we put that on a t-shirt, you will get the first one. I love that.
Tammy, make sure and message me that comment, and I'll
Yeah.
make sure. And when that happens, I will make sure this comes to fruition for you. Thank you for your support. I know that you have shared the live on here. I see everybody on TikTok sharing the live and sharing Angel's message. We appreciate you so much. And thank you for our On The Recyard family here. We have a beautiful community here, and we're seeing so many of our regulars on here and some new faces as well. We appreciate you guys liking this live stream. When it ends in just a few minutes, we encourage you to share it, because that just helps the algorithm and all that technical stuff push it out to even more ears, and to just spread the message and I almost said spread the good word, which sounds very biblical. Spread the good news, I think, is what but to spread it, because it is good news. We have a system impacted warrior running for office, and this is massive. This is huge. And so everybody in Texas needs to know it. You guys make sure you're logging on to her social media platforms. She's on Instagram for sure. She's on Facebook for sure. Angel, my TikTok family's here. Are you on?
No. Okay, guys. Okay, so I am on TikTok, and I'm trying, like at 28, I should have TikTok down. But especially if you're on TikTok, please, please, please follow me, Angel for Texas, on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Please share, like, also trying to work with the algorithm. And, it's hard for working class Texans to run for office. If you have $5-10, anything helps that you'd be willing to contribute. And hey, if you can't contribute financially, we're always looking for volunteers. This is a grassroots campaign. So I really want this campaign to be powered by the people. And you can also go to my website and sign up to stay up to date with all things Angel for District 52.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your story and your campaign priorities and giving inspiration. I feel like if I had a video of you looking into the camera saying you are more than your worst mistake, I would just listen to that every morning. I just soaked that in, and I know so many of our listeners soaked that in as well. And I just appreciate everything that you've shared with us, Angel. Angel, deeply from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And I love to end my meetings by saying, go forth and be great. So I want to leave you all with that this evening.
I love that. Go forth and be great, says Angel Carroll, candidate for House Representative District 52. Angel, we're going to tell you goodbye, and then we're going to say goodbye to our community. Thank you so much again.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Angel.
Wasn't she wonderful?
I just soak her up whenever we're able to spend time together. And she has a wicked sense of humor and an incredible, open, deeply passionate heart for people, period, but certainly for kids. And you know what that means to me. So yeah, I mean, you got kind of religious there. It did feel like we were at church. I mean, we were getting into it. She was great.
Yes, she most definitely was. So thank you guys. I know some people are popping in saying, "Oh, I missed the show. I'm sorry," or "I was busy." But you guys, you can always come back and watch.
That's right.
And you can still like the live right now. That's still very helpful. Sharing the live is very helpful. But also, guys, if you're the type to want to listen in your car, do you know you can listen to us wherever you hear your favorite podcasts? And Toonche is really hoping we get some voice messages for our Spotify listeners, I think, or everybody.
It's Spotify for podcasts. Now you can go to Spotify to listen. You can go to any platform, but specifically Spotify for podcasters is where our primary profile page is, and you can record a voice memo there.
And if you record it, I promise I'll figure out how to play it.
We're going to play it
live on here. Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what it is. We're going to play it.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter what it is. We're going to say it. So we may as well. Right. Toonche, how's it looking for next week?
Oh, what is next? Oh, because I'm remembering in 2 weeks, Marci, we're going to be in Atlanta.
Yes.
So let's keep that in mind. We may come live together at Atlanta.
Live from Atlanta?
Yeah, I think we should. But what are we going to do next week?
Yeah, this is a great question. Any suggestions from our family? TikTok, what do we want to talk about next week?
What do y'all want to hear? We can talk about cats.
We're not talking about cats or Taylor Swift.
Damn!
And my TikTok family saying they loved reading your Echo articles.
That was. And I have to remind everybody that Marci used it to clean with and wrap tortillas and who knows what else with.
Tamales. You could cut up the Echo and wrap tamales. And I want to tell you, when I got the Echo, I just never read you, Toon. I remember seeing your name, I'm trying not to be. I am impressed with you thoroughly. Please don't get me wrong. But I used to just look at the recipes in the newspaper.
God
and then I would look at the pictures to see if there happened to be somebody I know that maybe graduated from GED or something.
You skipped over the news and the commentary. And
I
went
did.
Straight to the recipes.
I wasn't a good with the poetry because it made me sad in there. So Carrie says, with the new rules, how can we support the people inside, especially for the holidays?
Oh, boy. Do we want to do the next episode about the holidays?
About Christmas and
about Thanksgiving, and maybe we'll do it about Thanksgiving and then we'll do a special Christmas episode. We'll have to plan in advance, but maybe we can talk about Thanksgiving and then kind of talk about some of the new rules with, sending money and stuff like that.
Yes, that sounds wonderful. And just the last question. So next week, y'all, we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving and some of the new rules that are in place and how can we support our loved ones with the new rules. Rayanne is asking about the event in Atlanta. Is it something that's public?
I just want to shout out Eric right now because he's one of my favorite guys. And it's hard for me to make friends with men, but I like Eric and he's great. So I'm sorry, with where in Atlanta? Yes, we can share the event.
Okay.
Yeah, it's open.
Okay, so we're gonna make sure it's on all of our social media pages, including the On The Recyard Facebook page, and we'll give you those details so that we'll have it down pat because we don't have them at the tip of our fingers right now. So Rayanne, stay tuned. Next week we'll also share that before. Guys, it was such a pleasure visiting with you. Toonche, you too. Honestly, thank you so much. And everyone, just don't forget to share this live. And we love you all. Talk to y'all next week.
Are you fixing to cut me off?
I was, and I thought you might have one more word to say. Go for it.
I do. I really wish you'd highlight Jennifer Gonzalez's comment. She's a friend
Gosh,
of
here
mine,
we go.
and I
Where
just
is
wanted
it?
to make sure it's under Eric's comment there. It's there. I just want to give
I
Jennifer.
don't even see it.
Oh, you're
I
so.
see this.
Going down, sister. Marcy. You see it.
Guys,
You see
we
it.
love you all. Guys, you guys have a great week. We will be here next
It was
week.
about
Same
Taylor
time.
Swift.
Same time, same place. I'm not letting Toon draw us into a Taylor Swift conversation.
Thank you, Jennifer.
7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You have been watching and or listening to On The Recyard Women's Prison Podcast. Until next time. Thank y'all for hanging out with us on The Recayard Women's Prison Podcast with Marci Marie and Toonche. Make sure and subscribe to our channels so you'll